gang, so I'm back with the normal animation content today. I have two new puppets. This is Trevor and this is his wife Muriel, but at the moment they don't have a set to frolic about in, so let's get to it. Now normally I like to make my sets here in the garage. I get some wood, start sawing that up and make a nice sturdy set. And that would be perfectly doable because I have so much random scraps of wood here. But as ever, it is cardboard ahoy in my house, so I think, even though this is probably going to be a temporary set that I'm only going to reuse for one animation, I think we're going to get some use out of this cardboard, and then when it's done I can just sling it in the bin because I think it's going to be quite a big set and I don't really want that taking over my room because clutter ahoy in my house as it is. So let's have a look at exactly what we're going to be doing. So the idea is that these little puppets are going to be going for a little walk in the countryside. So I had a little look at some pictures of the countryside online just to get an idea of what I wanted to do. And I really like the idea of getting some sort of hillside involved. I am a bit worried that it's going to be a nightmare to get the puppets to walk on because getting them to walk on like a flat surface is enough of a nightmare. So trying to get them to like walk up vertical, I think might be a nightmare. So I think what I'm going to do with the set is build them like a flat path and then in the background do some sort of hill situation. I am thinking in terms of like adding depth to the set, what I might do is have a path at the front and then maybe some like hills that are like built up out of like cardboard, and then in the background have like a painting of some hills. Will this work? Only one way to find out, guys. Let's get to that cardboard. So in terms of materials, I have got this massive box from Dunelm. Also, like, how cute is this design on the front? I kind of want to use this, but I assume it's copyrighted someone, so I can't really like use that, but so cute. Good job, Dunelm. I mean, they're not sponsoring me, I'm just, how cute. And they've got lots of cardboard packaging here, which is great because A, it's useful and B, environmentally friendly. Everyone wins. I have got this like, so sorry about all these noises, guys. Like brown tape and stuff. I've also got this thing, which like might be useful for kind of building up some texture. I'm not really sure. I think probably more it looks like a cityscape or something. Like, can it be zoomed in? Ooh. No, don't get ideas for more sets. Do the one you're actually supposed to be building. I also have yet another box with yet more of this with cardboard stuff. There's even more in here. It's a small child's dream world in here. Boxes ahoy. I cut the front off the box so I had this sort of like wide open space to try and build the set in. It's probably a bit bigger than it needs to be, but I guess it's like, I'd rather it be too big than too small because sometimes I've had issues where like I want to film something and then like you're at the edge of the set, so yeah, that's fine. I think what I'm going to do in here is build a level. On previous sets, I've normally just kept the set like that and then I had to film like from this angle or like just sort of just here because obviously there's nothing in this area. But I think if I build a level and then paint this like maybe green, you can have it looking like the side of a hillside maybe. Like we've got plenty of room up top, so I think I'm just going to try building a level and see what happens. I then used the side that I'd originally cut off the box to make a little platform inside it for my stop motion characters to frolic about on. Not very sure where this is going at the moment, guys, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I kind of like the idea of having something like in the foreground, like a little hill, so I might build a little hill here as well. I then sketched out a hill shape on one of my many pieces of cardboard and then cut that out with a craft knife. And then started trying to make something hill-like from these boxes, and I'm really not sure what was going on here. It was looking a bit of a mess at this stage. So one thing's for sure, they do not look like hills. They almost have like a Stonehenge vibe. Like, no, we're not about to start like building some sort of like place to worship. That's too much to go on today, guys. I've got enough going on. But I think they do look almost a little bit like a rock formation. We can definitely say that. if you look at some of these pictures of mountainsides, sometimes they have like rocky bits in, so it might just have like a rocky cluster or something like here. I think that might work. And then I think this does look like quite good. It's just a piece of cardboard, but like I like the idea of this. I might have something similar like in the back somewhere, and then we'll paint the background. Yeah, I think we're gonna put another one of these hills in, stick that all down, and then we'll start adding like maybe some texture. I realised I only had blunt edges to sort of like glue together, which is a bit difficult, so I've made, I was gonna say hinges, but that is way overselling it. They're just like chunks of cardboard I've like torn up. But then I'm gonna like stick one to this bit and then stick the other bit down, so it just sort of anchors everything in place. Hopefully that'll work. Let's get gluing. So here we have everything all glued together, and I know it looks a bit rough and ready, but I'm quite happy with how the shape is coming together. I'm not really sure what to do about these areas. I think I might try and add some of this paper and kind of glue this around and kind of smooth a few things out. So I'm gonna have a go at that now and then get painting it. So then I just stuck like some of this paper haphazardly around the bottom of these pieces of cardboard, and to be honest, it still was looking a little bit of a mess. I didn't really know what was going on at this stage. I was determined to make something happen, so I just got a base coat on. I just did a white base coat around the back and the sides of the set, and then used a green base coat on the bottom. I'm just using emulsion paint here that I had left over from decorating my house. It's really good because it's quite thick, and brown cardboard can be quite difficult to paint over. So I've left this overnight to dry and everything looks fine. Obviously a lot more work to do. So I did have a look at some pictures because I want to put in a path next. And there are a few different types of pathway on a mountain. There's some that are actually just like a proper built path with like cobbles and stuff. There are some paths that are like basically, you know, you see them where people have just walked on a piece of grass long enough that are just sort of a vague path has like appeared in the ground. And then there was the paths that were like sort of chalky, rubbly type looking paths. I'm probably not explaining well. This is what I'm talking about. And I think that kind of looks quite nice. I think that's probably something that's quite achievable. I say achievable, who knows? We haven't started yet. So that's what I'm gonna try and make. So I have some leftover tile adhesive. You could only buy it in the massive tub. I thought it was very expensive, but you can only buy it in this amount, and I only need to tile one small wall. So I have quite a lot left over. So anything that I can actually do to use this up is a bonus. So I added some of that tile adhesive to the rocky elements just to give it a bit more of a rocky type texture. I think plaster would work quite well if you were doing something similar at home. And then I made a little path, which was really quite satisfying. It felt like it was icing a cake, but please God, do not eat tile adhesive, guys. That is a warning. Do not eat tile adhesive. So I left that to dry overnight, and I'm quite happy with the results. I think this path looks really nice. Obviously it'll look better when it's painted, but I think it's starting to look like a path. And I'm really happy with how these bits look like. I think when it was just the cardboard, it just kind of looked like a bit of a mess, but I think it's starting to actually look like craggy bits of rock, which is really good. Having slept on it, I'm really not sure about this. I think I'm going to remove this and then try and tidy that up. And then these like gaping holes down the side of the set, which kind of look a bit of a mess, I'm going to try and glue them and then put some more of this like filler stuff in and see what that looks like. So we ripped that hole out of the way because honestly, what an absolute mess. I don't know why I thought that was a good idea. It seemed like a good idea at the time, as so many things do. And then I'm just filling up those gaping holes in the side of the set with some more of that tile adhesive. At this stage I also covered up those cardboard flaps that I'd used to try and like adhere the set pieces together, and I think at this point things are actually starting to come together. Tile adhesive has definitely saved the day on this project. So then I just wanted to add some block colour onto the back wall. I've used a sponge to add blue for the sky and green to sort of like vaguely shape out where the hillsides are going to be in the background. And then I've just continued to layer up colours really. I've added some white to the sky, I've added some more greens to the base of the set, mixing in different colours, bits of yellow, dark greens, lighter greens. I've then gone in and painted the path grey. We were going to go with a rocky look for this, and I think the grey is probably the best colour to achieve that.
I've also painted these rocky elements with greys. I've gone in with a few different coloured greys just to give them a bit more shape and a little bit more texture. I then also made a tree in the background and just continued to layer up that paint, adding a bit more texture and just make it look a bit more lifelike. I then add some more green to these rocky elements just to sort of look a bit like moss and things, make it look a little bit more natural, and painted a tree trunk for that tree. And then I made some little flowers just to sort of jazz things up. At this stage there was a couple of things I really wasn't happy with. First, this tree trunk, which like just, there's not a lot going on here, and then these flowers which look a little bit like something a small child's done, which I think is probably offensive to a small child. So we went in and added some more colour to this tree trunk, added a bit more depth. It just looked a bit see-through, and then added a few more like little branches and things just to make it look more like a tree basically. I then went in with some crayons, just adding some different textures, some different colours, just to make that tree trunk come to life and make it look like an actual tree trunk and not a small child's drawing, which granted it still does a little bit look like a small child's drawing, but hopefully less so. Then the time came to tackle the flowers. I made these out of felt actually and decided to stick them on, so I've used basically a tube of sweets as a template just to draw out these flower shapes and then cut them out. I've then used the scissors again to cut it into the flower and make these little petals. And then using a piece of yellow embroidery silk, I've just sewn a little cross in the middle of the flower to like the middle of the flower. And then I've stuck these all on. I just stuck these on with PVA and I'm so much happier with these than just the painted ones. I did keep the paint on there because I think under the flowers it just sort of gives a bit of a layered 3D appearance. And I think we're all done. And finally, after so many different coats of paint, I have finally finished my set. So let's have a look. So let's start off with the positives, guys. Remain positive, I tell myself, as the world burns. So what went well? I really am very happy with how these like rocky elements worked. I think the tile adhesive really helped with this because it sort of gave that rocky texture, which was really good. Certainly gonna try using that some more in future sets, mainly because just so much of the stuff to use up and I do not like to throw things away. Again, this path with the tile adhesive, I'm really happy with how that worked out. And these flowers, initially they were a bit of a disaster, the flowers, but when I went in and put these felt ones on, really happy with how these look. I think they look really cute and they just add a bit more colour to the whole situation because everything's a bit sort of greeny bluey grey, so they really kind of contrast with the colour of the set, which I think is really cool. I think just in general it looks like a countryside scene. It's like often with your little animations, maybe you're like really skilled and can do a feature film, but I do quite small animations because my stop motion skills are low. So I tend to do quite short animations, so you really want to like show initially, here we are, let's get into it. You don't want to have a lot of backstory and confusion. It's just like, ta-da, you know where we are. I mean, just generally with any film, it's nice to know what's going on, isn't it? So I think you initially see this, it's quite clear where we are, what's going on. I'm rambling and trying to put off the cons because there is one major con here. Let's address it. I can't actually do a proper stop motion animation with this set because the whole setup of this is majorly flawed, and I worked this out about halfway through the filming and was like, well, I've come this far, so just sort of ploughed on regardless. Let me explain. So if we look at another set I've previously made, this is a wooden one. They've got quite a small base. Now I did talk at the start about how I wanted more like here, just so we could like film from different angles. Thing is, with this one you can quite easily clamp it to a surface, that's fine, but because of the way I've set the bottom of this up, there's nothing to clamp down to anything. I could potentially have stuck like a large piece of cardboard here, so there'd be something at the front that I could clamp down. It's still not ideal. Also, this brings me on to the main problem. It's quite difficult to illustrate, but this like wobbles about because it's cardboard. I don't want to press too hard because I don't want to like mess up where the join is, but yeah, it's wobbling. I think just generally it just sort of wobbles slightly. I know it doesn't actually look like it's wobbling that much, but the problem is with stop motion, if you take a picture and it wobbles slightly, it just kind of get very jarring very quickly. Despite this, I still plan to do some sort of an animation with this. I aren't sure how that's going to happen. I'm going to put it on the pile of problems for future Rosie. Why would I know what to do? You are welcome. Thanks for that. So a bit of a mixed bag there in terms of pros and cons, but I do like to include the elements where things go wrong just to show that I'm human, that I'm still learning like everyone else, and hopefully we can all keep learning together, and at some stage maybe we'll all be like professionals and know what's going on. I don't think I'll ever really actually know what's going on in the world, but I keep trying, and you know, I'm enjoying myself regardless, so who cares if I don't know what's going on. Join me in the next episode when I've been trying to work out how to do something with this set. Who knows, will I be able to achieve it? If you don't tune in, you won't know. I do upload videos every second Sunday, so do make sure to subscribe to be kept updated about all things animation, and I will see you all again really soon. Bye!